Hello, Sharks fans. I'm Dan Rusanowsky. On the 27th and 28th of June, the National Hockey League will convene at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia for the annual NHL entry draft. And the man in charge of that day for the San Jose Sharks is the man next to me, Tim Burke of the San Jose Sharks. Tim, how has the draft changed since you started so many years ago?
Oh, it's become a lot bigger, and sometimes it's a one-day, sometimes it's a two-day draft. But, I mean, there's a lot of people involved in this draft now. It's an exciting time of year.
Before that, of course, you get a chance to scout the players as they're playing in their respective leagues. But over the last few years, the NHL Scouting Combine has convened in Toronto, and you were there, Doug Wilson, and several other staff members. How do you compare that to what the National Football League is so well known for?
It's a little bit different. There's a lot more players by position at the other draft, but they do a lot of tests on the players. I mean, it's gotten better every year. I think there's a lot of value to it.
What do you look for at that combine from individual players as they go through the exercises of showing how fit they are and how they train?
We're looking more for how much room does the guy have to get stronger. They're all young and they're all physically immature, just how much more we can do with them. It's not how much they are now, it's what they're going to be at 22.
The San Jose Sharks are right now in the midst of a bit of a transition, and Doug Wilson, your boss and general manager of the team, alluded to the idea that you started the rebuild, refresh, reset a year and a half, 2 years ago. Give us an idea of how far ahead you have to be of where the team is on the ice.
I think with the draft, we're more concerned with that day of that draft, and the players are a little bit ways away at that young of an age, so I don't think it has that much impact other than we have quite a few picks in the next couple of years.
Doug has always talked about 5 categories he's always wanted from a San Jose Shark. One of them, character, hockey sense. You have to love the game, which is an underrated aspect. You have to make others better, and you have to be at your best when it matters the most. That last one is obviously the one that's the hardest to quantify in many respects, but how much do the other 4 categories help the 5th one?
Oh, quite a bit. And when you add the environment and personal experiences, background, I mean, a lot of it all adds up.
Where do the San Jose Sharks have to change the way that they scout after everything that the franchise has been through and the way the game is changing?
I think you're always changing, that you're always looking for speed and heaviness and ability to play under pressure. I think that some things don't change, but I think you still have to, you got to stay on top of it, and there are good players out there in all different rounds, and you got to stay on top of it.
Give us the categories individually from players that you look for and really perks your interest when you see them play.
Obviously the hockey sense and speed are very important. If the guy's got the physical ability and he can play under pressure, he makes big plays, he stays in a lot of plays. He's not a guy that plays half the time and then you go, wow. It's like more of a consistency.
Give us an idea of how many miles your average scout that works on your staff travels every season and the hardships that he has to go through, because that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, it's fun though. I think it can be overblown about how much people travel and all everybody wants to talk about, but I think it's fun. It's a lot of fun. You don't even think of it like that.
Well, that gets back to the love of the game. I mean, you love the game as much as anybody, and isn't that a huge part of finding that guy, getting to that one game that one player shows you that special quality?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting because you never know. You go in some nights, you say there's not much here, and then all of a sudden, wow, and then you watch a guy again and again, wow, there's something here. It's always surprising.
I haven't asked you one question about players in the draft because everybody knows every draft is great. You could talk about a deep draft or a not so deep draft, and all of a sudden in that weak draft you find a guy in the 9th round that plays in the NHL. When you have to draft a player that has some negative qualities in the sense of something that needs to be fixed, what are those qualities that you feel don't disqualify him and that you can work with?
I think if the guy has a thinner upper body and he can put on some weight there, or maybe a little bit of the honing his passing or shooting, if he's got some speed and hockey sense, I think those skills you can improve quicker than some of the others.
What about the difference between the NCAA player and the major junior player or the European junior player in the way that you evaluate them?
Well, some are a little bit older and their shelf life is a little, the clock's ticking a little bit, but it all depends on what role they're going to be playing and what type of player they are. Like some of the players that are a little bit older may fit into a different role, whereas a younger guy has more room to grow into a higher role possibly.
You have to put everything into effect, the way the kid grew up, what type of education he has, what type of family he comes from, and that's part of the art of what you do. We've talked a lot about the science, but the art is really the hardest. The idea that an amateur scout has to decide when a kid is 17, 18 years of age, what he's going to be like when he's 25 or 26. How do you do it?
it takes a lot, and the percentages are against you at times, but you still have to believe in the family, the background. Can we be the surrogate family when his family's not there? The environment, how he's developed, where he is to be developed, staying on top of that, be there with the peaks and valleys. It takes a lot of work just to play 100 games in the NHL. I mean, it's a lot of work for a kid to go through this and the process of it.
Is your proudest moment when the guy that people say wasn't going to make it and you drafted him makes it to the NHL?
Yeah, it's exciting. Oh, it is. When a guy plays, like when Uriah Hayes or Freddie Hamilton are playing, or some of the guys are called up. I mean, that's exciting. I mean, that's really exciting.
Well, this is your Super Bowl, your Stanley Cup final, and we wish you and the Shark staff the very best of luck at the end of this month.
Thank you very much.